Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm with Incorta, your no limits data delivery platform, which enables endless possibilities. I'm Brian Boxman, as I mentioned, and that I'm with Incorta, responsible for sales. I have the pleasure of speaking with Amin Venjara, Chief Data Officer at ADP. And that, Amin, could you please provide, a little background and introduction on yourself, please?
Sure. Happy to. Well, first, thank you for the opportunity and great to be here with everybody. Just a little background on me. I'm a native New Yorker. I've been in New York, Northeast most of my life and always loved data. Actually, where I got my first start, I was talking to my kids. I've got 4 kids at home and I was talking to them. The first job I ever did was actually selling greeting cards and gift wrap paper door to door when I was a kid. And so maybe Brian, I kind of keep some of that moxie as you go around and knock on doors and learn what it means to be able to make a connection and make a sale.
Hey, that's funny that you mentioned that because my first job was selling ice cream on the beach, carrying an ice cream box and
There you go.
consumers.
Good old New Jersey shore. There you go.
Exactly.
So, but, for the last 10 years or so, I've been at ADP and the pleasure of really working with a great set of clients, now over 1 million clients at ADP, covering almost 20% of the US working population and really 40 million people paid worldwide. And so I've had a chance to not only work on some of our strategy as we think about our upmarket products, but also develop some of the data products that we have, from our analytics and benchmarking to the way that we deliver data to help make income and employment verifications easier and simpler to help the financial lives of workers, and then also creating a central data platform. And so that's really my current role as Chief Data Officer of ADP, is doing 3 things: creating a central data platform for the company where the data that we have, both of our clients' data and then the data that comes from our internal systems and external data, comes together into a central platform. The second is to do the data and AI governance to ensure all the use cases that we do uphold to the highest levels of trust and responsible AI. And then third is to see how we create customer value out of the data and create products that we can go to market with.
Phenomenal background. And what a great role. A lot of chief data officers do not have the opportunity that you have, which is to create data products and monetize that. That probably gives you wonderful job security, that you're not an internal just cost center, but you're an external revenue generator. So that sounds like a wonderful role.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and it's kind of grown organically. And I can tell you, it's kind of been a interest of mine since joining the company. And for those of you, and I hope many of you who are joining us and listening to this, have had some interaction with ADP, maybe paid by ADP, received a paycheck from us, or at a company that uses us. Over the last 10 years, we've seen 100 million unique people in the US that have come through our systems. And so, being able to do something powerful with that data, everybody else says, hey, it's a gold mine, right? Of what you have, being able to see that. And so it's exciting to be able to take that and do something that really shapes the world of work.
Wonderful. I mean, that's one of our monikers, which is unlimited possibilities with your data, obviously in a governed fashion. And just yesterday, I was watching the PGA golf tournament sponsored by ADP. So
there you go. We started to venture out into that space as well. And we're excited. And there's a lot of data behind golf. It's amazing. When you talk to some of these golfers and what they're doing to be able to optimize their game, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
It really is. And hopefully you can take advantage of that and get to some tournaments. But let's get to the kind of a little bit of the high level questions. And that I know that everybody is driving towards being data driven and under the category of being data driven with HR innovation. We're aware of this as an organization. We use ADP and have a wonderful experience, but you guys are kind of the leader, have adjusted from a payroll company to a broad speaking HR solutions provider. So, adapting, modifying, changing, how do you ensure that the data that you guys have that you're managing today is leveraged to drive innovation in HR services and value and solutions to your clients? This sounds like it's right in your wheelhouse and what you think about every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great question because, you think about the data that we have and what is it that we can do to really drive value for our customers. And we like to think about, what is it that we do at ADP? We help companies, throughout their human capital management life cycle from hiring, from sourcing and recruiting. So we kind of say from hire to inspire to retire, right?
I love
Throughout
it.
that life cycle, we want to be able to help companies and help their workforces do what they do. And we can take care of that so they can get back to, do whatever they need to do to drive their business, serve their customers. And how do we do that? Well, the fundamental framework we look at this is making things easy, making them smart, and making them human. And I know in a world even of AI, even that last one of human might sound like, well, like where does the human fit in all this? And so maybe I'll just say a little bit about each of those pieces because that's how we think about creating value out of the data. The first thing is easy, right? Nobody wants to spend a bunch of time handling administrative processes, around their people or anything, like finances or whatever. So we've got to make it very, very easy in the system. So the system is intelligent to be able to understand what you need. And let me give a couple examples of that. You can start in our core example like payroll, right? When somebody's processing payroll, I want to be able to understand, what are the things that I need to be looking at. Don't have me go through and find errors. You surface them to me. So for example, simple things like, hey, you have an active employee and they have no hours. They're an hourly paid worker and they don't have any hours. Or you have somebody who has negative PTO balances. Or you have pay. Here's something a little bit more complicated. You have something, you're paying somebody and the pay doesn't match with the taxes. The jurisdictions in which the taxes are not consistent with where the pay is. You might not have set up a tax ID in a location where somebody's now working, right? So, and that leads to compliance obligations that will lead to an amendment or a notice. These are all the kinds of things that our clients should not have to worry about. The easy button means that we have the intelligence to surface those things, which we do. We call these payroll anomalies. We surface these in the flow of work and leverage the data so that our clients, when they're actually doing the payroll process, they can surface them, resolve them, because there might be a good reason behind it, but make sure that they can process them. And so that's a great example of the easy. Now let's think about smart, right? How do you make things smart for a company? Well, this is where we're actually using a lot of new capabilities, or especially around AI, to be able to surface information. Because one of the things that we always hear from HR practitioners is, what should I be focused on? HR departments run lean. I don't have the time to be able to do all the things, look into every single nook and cranny. I need to be able to service my entire organization. So if you could surface to me where I need to be paying attention, where is turnover spiking? Maybe where is overtime spiking? Where is maybe engagement going really well? And I should be not only leaning in to maybe fix something, but to praise a certain manager or a leader that's doing a really good job. Being able to surface those insights makes things a lot easier. That's a smart system that makes it really easy. And then if you get to human, like how do you not make this feel like a robot? Like how do you, just because you have all this data, like how do you really understand when you're talking about HR, you're talking about humans. They're people who got a job, got promoted, got a bonus, got a raise, moved to a different location. They're having birthdays and work anniversaries. They had a child. These are all moments that matter in someone's life. It's not just an administrative process. And so how do you humanize that so you understand, both as the practitioner, but also as the system is speaking to you? I know, like, okay, if you're going to go on leave or you have a bereavement case, this is not some administrative process. It's a very difficult, challenging human situation that the system needs to be appropriate to say, you know what, I think you're going through a lot right now. Let me try and do what I can and take this off your plate and let you get back to your family and do what you need to do. Those are things that data and AI can really make a difference and really make an HR system human again.
Those are great examples. I really appreciate that. I mean, because I can speak as a customer that it really was a seamless experience to register when I came on board in my organization. And, I communicate with the platform when I need to. And sometimes the platform communicates with me. And I know that's exactly what you're trying to achieve. Probably the opposite of that is that yesterday I went to the doctor. Wasn't feeling great. I went to urgent care. I've consolidated all my healthcare under one hospital system and one portal, thinking that it would be easy. So I can't believe how difficult it was using the online portal to make my appointment. And then when I got there, they asked me the same question 7 different times about what prescription medicines am I taking? How could they not know that? And why are they asking me again, again, and again, especially when I'm not feeling that great? So I think that organizations can do a lot better. And it sounds like you guys are focused on, doing a lot better, even though I recognize it's sensitive data. But at the end of the day, I think there are ways to improve the customer experience.
Let me build on that because I think in specific to this audience of, folks who are interested in data and do this, like a lot of organizations like ourselves, we have a lot of systems, right? So what is it that, and to the example you gave is perfect, right? Like I just filled out a lot of stuff in a portal. You should know these things about me,
Mhm.
right? This is a common problem that many organizations have. Let me share a little bit about what we're doing on that front, because I think it might be instructive and, we're on a journey in this process. So, like many organizations, we developed a central data platform. We're bringing in data from different systems. But just because you bring the data to a central place doesn't mean now the data is connected, right? And there's a lot of work you have to do, like even as you were mentioning, all the ETLs that you have to bring all the different systems and all that. But then, and so that our first journey on this central data platform was kind of doing a lot of ingestion, just getting everybody to spend the time and bring it in and know that those pipelines are consistent, that they work, the data shows up, it's right, it's consistent with the source and, and the target, all of that. Great. But now you need to connect the data. And really that comes down to this question of entity resolution. How do you, because you know what, this notion of having some kind of mapping between unique IDs on different systems and imagine you can connect everything to primary keys. Like, let's be honest, no matter how much you try, it's not going to work. And anybody who has gotten into that business and tried to do it, it's not going to work. So having this ability to be able to, surface the identities through similarity, right? And being able to surface which are these and creating that golden record. Okay, I have, and now, so this process of what we call kind of a client graph and a worker graph, where we're able to take the data across the different systems and bring them together and say, you know what, here is the data that we have across this client from our service, from our product, from our finance and our billing, all of those pieces together so that now you can have this data that then upstream, and at least internally, our upstream consumers of our products and our service and our sales and our finance, everybody can consume that golden record. And so that I think is, again, we're on the journey towards that, but I think that's so much of what is going to create that easy experience now where I told you over here, the right arm should know what the left arm is doing. And for a client to feel that you really know who I am.
Absolutely. How are you able to achieve this and not become hamstrung by, the all of the data regulations? Does that slow you down? And how do you manage that the governance side with it?
Absolutely. Look, we're a global company. And so obviously there's a lot and even more than just the regulations, I think it's the responsibility that we have to our clients. Trust is everything. Trust is everything. And I love this quote, right? That, trust is earned in drops, but lost in buckets, right? And so you earn that bit by bit but you have to make sure that you do that with your clients. So what we've set up is a kind of a global standard of what we do with for our data governance, and then recognizing the local jurisdictions in which we operate. So, for example, if we're in Europe and GDPR. We have data residency requirements. So we've set up our central data lake over there with nodes that can be able to keep the data in locations that it needs to be able to operate. We ensure that we can operate, in an environment that gives us that flexibility to be able to spin up systems and spin down, but keep the data where it needs to go. Other than that, we also ensure that we have like a data governance process so that, any use case that comes to be able to use the data, we can track it. And so we're understanding, hey, look, what is this data? Because we want to hold to that data minimization policy so that what is the precise use case you're using this for? What is the data that you need for that process? And then be able to deliver the data that is required out of that. And so, obviously that takes a lot of the same process. The way that we look at it is that we're delivering a product to our internal customers. And it has to be the same principles that we apply to our customers. We apply the same way. It needs to be easy. It needs to be smart. It needs to be human.
Thank you for sharing and taking the time today. I very much appreciate it. It was great to meet you and wish you wonderful success.
You too, Ryan.
Thank you.